Hi, this is James. Welcome to my series about refinishing my basement. I bought this house a couple years ago. The basement wasn't finished. It was built in 2006, and the builder, which is Lennar Homes, was has it had it pretty much set up to be finished with an existing electrical panel and plumbing, and the walls were finished with the correct insulation. And so here I'm going through on how I went from bare walls to completely finished, doing the entire thing myself with permits with the city of Aurora, Colorado. So permits and stuff will be different um, wherever you're at, of course, and um, people definitely do it without permits. It just comes a pain in the butt when it's time to sell your house. It's easier just to go ahead and do it. And even though it costs a little extra and is painful, it's going to save you problems later on. I've done many other stuff without permits, and you can kind of skate by on a kitchen and stuff when you're selling your house and a bathroom and such, but this was 1,100 square feet. So we can see I started out with SmartDraw. I've actually paid for 2 years of it because the project did take me 2 years to do because I'm lazy. Uh, Someone can finish that a lot quicker, but you get burned out in between. You'll see in different parts where I talk about getting burned out. But first of all, you have to do a design, and I went downstairs and measured everything and drew it out. And then from purchasing the house, I was able to get plans because there were some engineering issues that happened with the bentonite soil here in Colorado with one of the foundation poles. And the original owners had to have it. Had to have that pole, a new caisson dug, and the pole moved a little bit. And so, luckily, that gave me a one to go from. So the next thing is I was able to use SmartDraw to start drawing out plans, and so here's the basic layout of the basement. So the walls, the windows. This is my first design where I was trying to figure out stuff. And this right here is the stack coming down into the staircase. It's a two-flight staircase that bends. I had not well over 9 foot ceilings, not higher than 10, and so I wanted to keep the high ceilings here too in the design. And here's all the posts that hold up the house, two-story house above it. So the trick is, how do I hide all those posts in the design? And so that's what I went through different iterations of trying to figure that out. So in order to file a permit, I need to come up with a design of where what I think is finally going to happen. And one thing I would do differently is I would before finishing the design, I would break up the bathroom um, plumbing that was already put into the concrete. I forget the proper name of it right now, but I had to break that up to move it. So I took a lot of guesses, and that kind of bit me a little bit because I didn't do that until I had the framing done. And going back, I would have broke that up first, and I would have broke into the concrete first to see where the piping was running. That was really the problem, is where the drain was running to. In this case, it was over here on the wall around where the toilet's at, and then it ran this way. And well, when I was putting the toilet in, that all of a sudden made it really hard for me because I'd put this wall in already, and getting all that to tie in right. Kind of a pain. So I think in the videos that I used with Eddie Case, which I'll have linked down below, on that was a majority of my research. Um, they didn't break it out until after they had everything in there on their plumbers stuff. But for me, it would have been better if I did it. So you have to draw everything out. You got to put where the lighting's going to be. You need to go through, read the codes of what you can have on your circuits. And I spent a lot of time, here's where the original panel was, of trying to fit everything into that small panel. And I finally ended up having to go with a larger panel really to make everything work. And I stressed about that because I'm not a licensed electrician. And but I went to YouTube school and learned as much as I could to make it. So this is how I'm not going to show you how to use this tool. Whatever tool you come up with, there's a ton of these out there to draw it out. You just need to get something drawn out so you can get started and going. And when you're permitting, you're supposed to, any changes you make you're supposed to submit back to them. Well, if you're a builder, that's true, but they give you, at least Aurora, Colorado gave me a lot of leeway and helped me out a lot. When I watched videos on different places across the country, like East Coast, those guys are ball busters out there, even to the do-it-yourselfer. But out here, Aurora is very, very friendly and very easy to work with. And if you're a builder, of course they're going to make sure the standards, but they're looking for, they want to keep it safe, keep you from burning your place down or flooding it out and making it unlivable. And so that what you need is to draw it out and submit this with your permit. Not much more I can tell you here. I went through a couple different scenarios. Let's go pull up the last one. I had to move some walls. I was playing around with the bathroom. This is version 4 is what I submitted. Version 6 is what we really ended up at. And I had this all out here. What's nice about this too is everything. Oops, there's my address. We'll have to blank that out, huh? Some of the things that you need, like there's a sump and a radon closet here that are enclosed. I showed what the window egresses were. Thankfully, every window downstairs was built to be an egress window. And so I put ladders in every window. I went to that expense. Here's where the sub panel's at. Originally, I had the sub panel inside the closet, but that's against the electric codes. I labeled where all the switches were, where all the outlets were. There's electric rules on. It's like every 6 feet has to be one. In a later video I'll confirm what it is, so don't go off of what I put here. And the final bathroom, I did a major redo on how the bathroom all laid out as opposed to the first one. Here all the poles are lined out, and where I was hiding them, this pole really is hidden inside a wall that splits right here inside this closet that's finished, that I keep my it's kind of a computer server room where all the lines come in. Everything, the access to the side of the house is over here. One thing I should have done building it was put in a huge conduit to be able to push more stuff through, because fiber's coming. And I would have liked, instead of, I'm going to probably have to cut a hole up in the ceiling here to run the fiber over to the main wiring closet here. So other things, I labeled what my areas were going to be. The furnace room is unfinished, but there's really some specific stuff I had to do in there to keep it to code, all having to do with fire and stopping fire. And then let's see, here's labeled the GFIs, 20 amp circuits and what they were going to be, lay out, basically what it was. And so this gives you a good idea of what to work from. And you can kind of poo-poo it. I'll go on my own. But I use this a lot. And as I was building and framing in and running my electrical, because you think about all this stuff, and then in the end you you kind of forget about what you actually wanted to do. And so it's good reminders. Also, where your smoke detectors need to be. Also, a big one is where your landing light is and how I'm going to link it into the different lights on the stairways. There's big code throughout the country everywhere is, your stair light has to have a landing light right here. Um, and then CO2 and fire detectors. And then finding out where I could wire the common wire into the rest of the house for all the other fire detector common signaling line would be, and that happened to be right here. And so I spent a bunch of time trying to figure that out, going through the old electrical downstairs and figuring out how I'm going to splice everything in, because some of the electrics went out to the garage as well. And I also used, while the ceiling was open and while I was doing all this work, I ran a 50 amp um, out to the garage for an electric car. I have no plans on buying one, but I just wanted to future proof, and that run alone, just in material, $600. And then, so I went ahead and just got everything I needed to do to make that happen. Because later on, if I would have, got an electric car, I need to have 50 amp out there. Plus, I want it for welder and a heater out there, things like that, and better 20 amp out in the garage too. Is I made sure to get instead of a 15 amp circuit out there, 20 amp circuit, a couple 20 amp circuits out. While the ceiling was open, easier to run, push it up, and it just was all included inside of the building permit. So that's another consideration that I did. But I got 1,100 square feet here, all built by myself. It's really just putting up the walls and dropping the ceiling to an even length, and it's a lot of work, but you can do it. Yeah, I totally use YouTube. I've done lots and lots of house projects. This is the biggest one I've ever done, and it was a lot of work. I got sick of being in the basement. That's why it took 2 years. Other guys could have finished it a lot faster. I was recovering from a medical. I used to recover from a medical thing, and to get my strength back and stuff as well. So there we are. This will pretty much fill up there. Show my address again. Dang it. We'll have to block that. We'll catch you guys in part 2, and we'll go further in on, we'll start there with framing, what I did with framing. So this is kind of the planning that I had to do, and we'll see you on the next video.